Boca 2022, guys. We're going to make it all about you this year. We're going to try to make it big, better than 21, better than, of course, 20, right? We're going to do some great stuff. I'm so happy to have my special guest here today, Dr. John Lucas, on with us. We're going to be chatting with him a little bit later. We'll be speaking with professional boxing trainer, Mr. Barry Stewart. There he has a few fighters coming up on the Christy Martin card, February 5th in St. Augustine, Florida. That's right. We're going to be there live streaming with Johnny Davis Live, or AK Promotions live streaming there with Mr. Derek Reams. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're hoping also to speak with Mr. Christian Otero. He's a professional boxer, also fighting on that February 5th card. Listen, guys, I hope everybody's year is starting off pretty good. You know, we have a lot of things going on. I'll talk about the Georgia Classic that's coming up next weekend. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But since I left Dr. Lucas on the screen, we'll go ahead and chat with him right away and everything. You know, Dr. Lucas, how are you, sir?
Not too bad, Johnny. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. You know, just always going 100 miles an hour. I mean, really, truly, to be honest, Dr. Lucas, I've kind of packed my schedule out there pretty good already for the year. If you look at my calendar, akpromotions.org, you'll see so much stuff going on. But that's not only that. I have my other leagues going on in California and Florida and Missouri. And they're just, and I can't even put all those events. There's so many. It's like, I'm like, you know what? I'm getting a new website just to be able to, you know, so people can have easy access and go to those things. So anyway, I have a really busy schedule planned. But I wanted to bring you on and chat a little bit about, you know, perhaps some updates and things that are going on right now in particular, you know, with the virus. You know, I think a lot of people might be a little confused about, you know, kind of like, seem like we're kind of going a little backwards, you know, if you will. And we kind of, you know, you've always been very helpful to us. As you well know, we, you know, started kind of doing our events back in 2020, kind of in the midst of the COVID, and you advised us, and we were able to do like 1,500 bouts during that time without any issues. You know, now we dropped the protocols. There's been a few, but obviously we're hearing a lot more cases and things like that are popping up with this new name, you know, Omicron, right, which sounds like something from outer space, right, or whatever. But I guess the point that I want to ask you, what comes to my mind right away, you know, there are paradigm shifts, right, that happen in life and in society and whatever. I'm kind of wondering, are we at that point now of a paradigm shift with this virus? In other words, you know, we have a common cold, we have the flu, and you can call it whatever you want to call it. But now we've had COVID, and COVID's been around for a while, as we know, but now we have a COVID-19, now it's Omicron, then it was Delta, now it's Omicron. Could you tell me, is this just something that maybe we're in a paradigm shift, that perhaps now the cold and flu might be one of the COVIDs?
So, I mean, short answer, not really. And the reason why I say that is, you know, the common cold that's caused by a whole bunch of different respiratory viruses, including some of the older coronaviruses, you know, not the novel 19 coronavirus, in the flu, which is caused by a specific influenza virus. They're still around, but they're still significantly different than the novel coronavirus, even if it's in its different variations. As far as a paradigm shift, you know, the idea that we're going to end the pandemic through any steps that we take as humans or medical professionals, I mean, I think people have pretty much given up on that idea quite a while ago, especially since the immunizations have turned out not to offer lasting protection from infection like we had hoped that they would. But the upshot to all this is, you know, if you look at the number of infections with coronavirus in the country and really around the world currently, it's almost a vertical line. Every day, people are breaking records, the number of people who are getting this Omicron virus. But fortunately, the severity of disease with Omicron has not yet been anywhere near as severe in most cases as we saw with the Delta and the variants before that. So there's been some mutterings, and this is what I'm hoping for, that as this sort of burns through the population, that we're going to end up with enough people that between immunization, infection with prior strains, and infection with this strain, that will have enough innate immune system protection to coronavirus that we won't see significant future spikes. It's obviously way too soon to say that for sure, but it would be very unusual for a pandemic to just continue indefinitely with spike after spike after spike after spike, unless there was a dramatic change in the virus. And the good news to that is as you've probably, I think we talked about this before, as viruses naturally mutate and evolve, the selection process strongly favors viruses that are more transmissible. And the statistical odds that a mutation will make the virus both more transmissible and also more pathogenic is very, very small. So that's kind of this, the Omicron is the first one that we've seen where there's a dramatic increase in transmissibility, but there seems to be, again, thus far, and we're far enough into the Omicron spike, I'm feeling more and more comfortable to say this. It seems pretty clear that it's less pathogenic than some of the prior versions of coronavirus. And thank God, because if we were seeing the number of infections that we're seeing, if we were having the same percentage of people getting, significantly ill and needing hospitalization or ICU care and things like that, we'd really be in a super bad way.
Right. I'm hearing that, some people are actually, getting the flu and getting Omicron and getting, just like 2 or 3 viruses all at once. So it is obviously that strain that separates them, that different strain that separates what the virus from the cold, from the flu. But can the virus kind of be weakening so much that it becomes as quote unquote insignificant as the common cold?
I mean, could that happen? It could. Hasn't happened yet, but that's certainly a possibility.
Okay, right. So that's just one of the things just kind of on my mind, because I'm just hearing it seems like we're shifting back. Some of the people are still shutting down, though. They're still stopping basketball games or plays over in different places and stuff like that. Now, listen now. Come on now.
Since that's worked so well in the past, right?
Exactly. So listen, I know I sound like people probably trying to figure out, where does he stand? All right. But the bottom line, I stand with common sense, right? So, again, when it first hit, my first show, like 3 weeks before my big show in the spring, it first hit, we didn't know what was going on, I had to postpone it. But since that time, just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bouts. So I'm just trying to figure out, but why is it, or what is it about the Omicron that after all we've been through with COVID, that people are still, listen, you want to respect it now. You want to respect it. I'm not saying that. But to the point where a few people get it, that you shut down the entire game or the entire play or whatever. I mean, what is your opinion on that? Do you see that as something we should be doing now, like 2 years into this thing?
I mean, this is not a medical question. You're asking a political question, and well, no, I definitely don't, think that we need to be doing that now. In most cases, if you're going to have a bunch of elementary school kids go to a nursing home to sing Christmas carols, okay, I don't think that's a great idea right now.
Right, okay.
Just like it wouldn't be if there was a flu outbreak or things like that. But as far as having sporting events and things like that, I think I've made this pretty clear before. I've long been a proponent of people sort of assessing where they're at with their health and immune system and making a decision about whether they're willing to take the potential risk of going to these events or not. And especially people who've made the choice to get immunized, even though we're seeing lots of breakthrough infections where people are testing positive for the Omicron, there's still a very large protection evident in the numbers of people who are hospitalized in the ICU, that if you've had your immunization, especially people that have gotten the booster, which you got your booster, didn't you?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I'm very proud of it too, Dr. Lucas.
And I did, again, because of the fact that I work with people who are at very high risk if they were to get the infection. There's a very, very protective, there's still very, very good protection from severe illness. And that is I don't know if people heard this, but as we were first starting, I was listening to the chief of pediatrics at the hospital system I work at, happens to be an infectious disease doctor by training. And she was kind of going over what the hospital system's doing and what the numbers look like and things like that. And there's a lot of hospital workers who currently have tested positive with Omicron, but fortunately, none of them are particularly ill, where before the immunization was available and when we were dealing with the strains that we had seen previously, we had quite a few hospital workers and healthcare workers that were getting very, very sick with the infection. So if you are relatively young, relatively healthy, in decent shape, have a normal immune system, and particularly you've had your immunization, I wouldn't go out seeking to get Omicron. But if you get it, chances are that you're not going to wind up getting hospitalized or needing a ventilator or things like that. But unfortunately, anytime there's something that affects a huge portion of the population, there's going to be people who get really sick. But so far, that proportion of people is relatively small, but a small proportion of a large population of people who are getting the virus, we're still seeing issues. And, our hospitalization numbers and ICU numbers are definitely going up, but they're not going up as fast in relation to the number of positive tests as what we've seen with prior versions of the virus.
Right. So as we close out on that part, give me the best measures and advice for how to stay protected, with the virus in the virus season. I'm going to say in the virus season because there's so many different viruses out there right now.
Right. So, and this goes for all viruses. So it's not just specific to Omicron, but, doing things to maintain your physical health. So making sure that you're in good cardiovascular shape, you're getting enough sleep, you're eating a balanced diet, making sure you're washing your hands, avoiding people who are clearly sick. And then because of Omicron, when you're in areas that they want you to wear a mask, so like if you have to go visit somebody in the hospital, or you're in a workplace where you're with a bunch of other people and you're mandated to wear a mask, wear your mask. If you have availability of an N95 mask and you're going to be exposed to someone with Omicron, so like if somebody in your family, your mom or dad has coronavirus and you have to go help them with their health care, help them around the house, something like that, then I would try to wear an N95 mask in those situations, because it's very clear that those masks are more beneficial for preventing you personally from getting the virus than just wearing a regular surgical mask. And there's been a number of I don't know if study is the right term, but there's been a lot of indications recently that, especially with Omicron, because it is so much more transmissible, the cloth masks are not really that useful. It produces so much of a viral load that the amount of virus that people are shedding, the little bit that gets caught up in the cloth mask, probably doesn't make a big difference.
Okay. But wearing something is better than nothing, though, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's always true. It's better than nothing. But especially if I knew I had coronavirus, I wouldn't feel comfortable going out in public wearing just a cloth mask.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't go out in public, period.
But
if I did, I would wear an N95 mask, especially now that they're readily available. And hospital systems should have, like our hospital system has been stocking up on N95 masks for going on 2 years now. So they have them coming out their ears. So that was actually a mandate they just put in today, that it used to be we had to wear a mask in the hospital. Now they're demanding that all the hospital workers wear an N95 mask at all times when they're in the hospital, because their people are much closer together and you're working with patients, and the likelihood that you're going to run across somebody that has coronavirus is much higher than it was before, where if they had tried to do that beginning of the pandemic, they wouldn't have been able to, because they didn't have the materials necessary to make that happen.
Right. Okay, for sure. All right, so let's shift there really quick now. Now, listen. Now, I wanted to go back, and I was thinking about, I talked about Lucas about so many subjects, right? And we probably talked a little bit about this before, but, I'm on this new thing for the new year in 2022 to drink more water. It's really just that simple. And I'm an athlete. People know that I work out. I do my videos and all that stuff, and I drink water when I work out. But I did not have a routine, if you will, for drinking water. Okay, so I want to, first of all, Dr. Lucas, I'm going to go through something that I've been doing, right? That's changed. Right. Since I, to be honest with you, I had a kidney stone. Right? And it was from really lack of water, and then, doing all the other supplemental stuff. Right. So I just want to talk about my routine, and then I'm going to ask you some questions. So right now, today, what I do different, every single morning I wake up, I have it in my phone, right, where it goes off at 9 o'clock every morning to drink a 16-ounce bottle of water with my breakfast. Right. So that's one. The other thing that I do that I used to not have at all, because when in the bathroom, where are you going to mostly take a pill? right? For the most part, it's probably somewhere in your bathroom. So now I keep bottles of water, right, sitting on my counter. So at any time, I'm just not going to just take a. No, I'm to be honest. Just to be honest, I'll take the sink and I'll do that, and that would be it, right? Right? But now I'm guzzling down, a big bottle of water. If I take, some ibuprofen or whatever, whatever it might be. And the other thing that I do is I have my car loaded with water, right? I got water in every pocket almost. And when I travel in my bags, I also have water in those. Okay, so Dr. Lucas. So now I'm crazy about water in that sense, and it's a must for me. Why is water so important to our bodies? And I'm going to go a little deep here. You know me, Johnny Davis Live, real talk, real solutions.
So, water is by far the most abundant element in your body. It makes up the vast majority of your body weight and body mass. And because of that, it's super important for a number of things, but in particular for athletes and people who are doing any sort of physical training, you've got to make sure that you're well hydrated so that your system is able to use water to help cool you, because you're going to sweat when you start to get overheated and your muscles are working. Your water and the fluid in your bloodstream is what picks up the waste products from metabolism and brings them to the kidney so they can get cleared out and prevent like lactic acidosis, and that gives you the burn in the muscle. That all gets cleared through the bloodstream, and you need to be properly hydrated for that. And then, as you found out the hard way, your kidneys need to have enough free water in your body so that they can flush out the waste products without concentrating them too much. Because when you start concentrating those waste products, sometimes things precipitate out and you get these awful, jagged looking, tiny little, literally rocks that form in your kidneys, and they hurt like the dickens as you try to get rid of those. Right. So there's a lot of things that water does. And, you can, if you just stop drinking water, you get stranded in the desert or something like that, your clock's ticking fast for how long you're going to be able to stay alive. You can go, days or weeks without eating, but you can't go more than a couple of days without water because it's so important for your body.
Yeah. Okay. So what I've always been confused about, is that it says that it's 70% of your body weight. Now, when I look at a human body, right, I don't see water. You know what I mean? So I'm being honest. I've heard that all of my life being a fighter. Hey, but I've been trying to do the math. I'm like, I see body mass. I see skin and meat. I don't see water. How can it be 70%?
Well, I mean, the short version is it is, and like the meat that you see. So take like your bicep. If you take your bicep out and look at it, it looks like a filet mignon. It's a kind of cylindrical muscle. But if you squeeze,
that's kind of what is the word, cannibalistic there?
I wasn't recommending you eat it. But if you squeeze that, if you take a muscle and squeeze it, it gets dramatically smaller. So my son's addicted to beef jerky and actually started making it. So you take a piece of steak and you put it in your dehydrator, or you put it on your grill and smoke it for 4, 5, 6 hours and take it back off. It's suddenly a quarter, if even, the size that it was when you put it on. And it weighs dramatically less because all the water that was in it leaves. So your tissues is just like a sponge. If you take a sponge and dip it in the sink and pull it out, it doesn't look like water, but if you squeeze it, you'll get quite a bit of water out of it. And the same thing with your tissues. Each cell has a tremendous amount of water in it. And taken collectively, it ends up making up in the neighborhood of 70% of your body weight.
Yeah, it's just always been confusing to me when people say that it is like 70%. How important into it you said about the organs, blood? What about your skin? How does that all correlate with, make your skin looking healthy?
So if you think to watch some of the weigh-ins for like I'll use the UFC in particular, because a lot of those guys are cutting tremendous amounts of water weight. And you look at those guys standing on the scale and they all look drawn out. Their skin's kind of saggy and sometimes wrinkly. It's because that the normal turgor you have in your skin, so you can pinch it and it goes right back to the way that it was before, as opposed to pinching it and having it stay with a crease there for a period, is due predominantly to the presence of water in your skin. So when you start getting dehydrated, that becomes a significant issue. It's actually one of the things in babies and young infants that can't tell you how they're feeling. if you brought your child when she was 6 months old into the ER and said, she's had vomiting, diarrhea, hasn't eaten for a couple of days, one of the first things the nursing staff and the physicians will do is actually pinch the back of her hand. Because if you pinch the back of your hand and your skin snaps right back to where it was, then you're not significantly dehydrated. But if you pinch the back of your hand and your skin stays tented up, then you might have an issue. Now, before you get too concerned, you got to remember, I'm talking about a baby versus you or I who are, I'm guessing you and I are both, in our mid-30s at least? Something like that, yeah. North of childhood anyway. So we have some other issues, as, there's age-related changes. Right. But the same thing holds for shall we say, more mature folks as well, that the normal sort of springiness of your skin or normal elasticity of your skin won't be present once you get dehydrated to a certain point.
So we talk about water, and I made the mistake when I was defending my first world title. I made the mistake of filling up with a bunch of sodas and stuff like that. I knew I needed to hydrate. I didn't know how important water was. And so tell us the difference between quote unquote hydrating with tea, or if you're even hydrating with tea, or hydrating with soft drinks, compared to just water.
So, there's two potential issues. So the first is the things that's in a drink besides water. It depends on what those things are. So if those things have tremendous amounts of caffeine or other chemicals in them, then there can be some effects from that. So the issue with tea and soda and things like that is, one, especially if you've recently been dehydrated or you're going to be doing something athletic, taking in a tremendous amount of caffeine is not a great idea. There's lots of things that it does that is not helpful, including caffeine as a diuretic, meaning it makes your kidneys produce more urine. So if you're trying to rehydrate yourself, taking something that makes you pee more doesn't make a tremendous amount of sense. You won't get dehydrated per se by drinking something that's caffeinated, but it makes it a little harder for your body to hold on to that fluid. And then the other issue is if you drink nothing but water, particularly if you're drinking distilled water, or you live someplace where you have well water or city water that has a relatively low amount of electrolytes and minerals in it, as you start to drink more and more of that water, you actually dilute out the salinity or the saltiness of your blood, and your body needs to maintain a very specific saltiness to your blood. So if you're rehydrating with just plain water, especially if you're dehydrated, you'll rehydrate to a certain extent, and then as the salinity of your blood starts to go down, your kidneys go, well, we can't handle this. So they make you pee out free water. And that's one of the reasons why, if you watch closely, and go back to the UFC again, because a lot of those guys have enough money at their disposal, they usually have a nutritionist that's with them as they're doing the rehydration. You'll see they're almost never drinking just water. They'll have 8 ounces of water, and then they'll drink something out of a shaker cup, which usually has electrolytes in it. Or they'll be drinking coconut water, or they'll be using Body Armor or something like that, one of the sports drinks that has electrolytes in it.
Right. Well, that leads me to something. That leads me to a question I was going to ask was, that can you make water better?
Sort of. I mean, if you're just doing normal daily things, so like throughout the day today, I'm going to work out, but I'm not going to be doing something where I'm going to be sweating through, a sweatshirt and losing tons and tons of water. So during a normal day, I will just drink water so that my urine stays clear with no yellow tint, because then I know I'm staying fairly well hydrated, and I know I'm getting enough salt from just stuff that I eat in my normal diet. If I were going to be doing something where I knew I was going to be sweating excessively, so like let's say I'm with my son and we're literally hiking in Death Valley, or I'm going to go to a jiu-jitsu tournament and I know I'm going to have 6 or 7 matches where I'm going to be sweating like crazy and losing a lot of fluid, then I would, quote unquote, improve water by adding electrolytes to it. I normally would drink an electrolyte containing drink. I try to avoid Gatorade personally, just because there's a ton of sugar in that. And if you take in, if you take, well, it depends. I have to, full disclosure, it depends on which Gatorade you're drinking. If you're drinking just garden variety, plain old Gatorade, there's a ton of sugar in that. If you're drinking G2 or G0, there's less sugar, but then they have an artificial sweetener. Okay. And as a lot of people who've drank huge amounts of Gatorade have found out the hard way, if you take in a whole bunch of sugar, especially simple sugar, when you're working out and sweating a lot, you're very likely to give yourself diarrhea. And that's not something you necessarily want when you're grappling with people or trying to fight somebody. So I usually end up using an electrolyte containing sports drinks that are meant more for athletes because they usually don't taste as good because they don't have as much sugar, but I don't care so much what it tastes like. I'm just looking for a good mix of electrolytes. So I'll use like LMNT or Liquid IV, one of the little sleeves that has salt and just a little bit of sugar in it that you can add to make your water have a bigger electrolyte content to it. Some folks who are really dedicated to their hydration will, I think it's the World Health Organization has an online recipe that using stuff you can buy right in the grocery store. It's a little bit of sodium bicarbonate, baking soda, and then table salt, and sometimes a different kind of salt that you can get, a salt substitute that has potassium in it. You can mix that into a gallon jug and shake it and give yourself a very good rehydration drink that tastes like sweat because there's nothing in it to flavor it. It just tastes like salt.
Right.
But if you're doing something where hydration needs to be perfected, especially if you're going to do like an Ironman or run a marathon, something where you cannot tolerate drinking, 2 liters of Gatorade when you're trying to run 26 miles.
Right.
You have to drink, nor can you tolerate drinking just water. You've got to drink something with salt in it. So in certain circumstances, you can improve your hydration, but you would do that by making sure you're appropriately replacing your electrolytes. And I saw that Thai Boxer mentioned that he had eaten like saltine crackers or things like that. And that's exactly what you need to be doing, is making sure you're getting that salt back somehow as well.
I've never heard of that.
So that's why, that's Gatorade was actually, I'm going to say University of Florida. I think that's why it's called Gatorade. But there was a trainer in the probably 80s that realized that the football players, when they're out doing their stuff in the heat, especially the linemen, because they're bigger guys and have smaller surface area for their body mass, they weren't performing as well drinking just water. And what was happening is they were getting electrolyte depleted, so their body wasn't working quite as well as it would otherwise. So the whole point of those electrolyte containing drinks was to let you replace your electrolytes. If you do a lot, especially like here in South Carolina, where in the summer it can be 100 degrees and sunny, if you go out and you're like mowing your lawn with a push mower, you'll sometimes see that if you drink nothing but water towards the end of the day, your hands and your feet will be a little bit swollen and stuff like that. And that's because what you've done is you've, in a relatively short amount of time, you've lowered the osmotic load in your bloodstream a little bit. So you have more water and less electrolytes in your bloodstream, but it takes longer for that to happen in your cells. So it's pulling some of the free water out of your bloodstream and putting them into your cells, and it shows up as edema. And that's why, like, when you go to take your ring off, it won't come off, or your shoes feel tight, that kind of stuff. And when that happens, you're not functioning as well as you would be if you were rehydrating appropriately.
Wow. Man, that's some good information there, Dr. Lucas. And again, people often, they take water for granted. I will never, ever, my wife always tells me, drink water. You need to drink more water. She's been telling me that for years. So when I was down on the floor, screaming, right?
And hopefully she said, I told you, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what she said. So it's a valuable thing. So I'm trying to prevent people from going through what I went through, right? And drinking more water. People, I'm trying to tell you, it is the key. You heard the doctor himself tell you, water, not so much tea, not so much Kool-Aid, and all those other things. Simply water, right? Can really change your life in so many ways, and also give you energy. Let me ask you a question. Let's tie this in really quick before we close out here, and I'll bring up our next guest. Would there be a correlation, if you will, in the viruses and health and drinking more water? I think I know the answer to that.
Yeah, to some extent, for sure. Being well hydrated and being as healthy as you can be. And by as healthy as you can be, like we talked about before, making sure you're getting adequate sleep, making sure that you're doing regular aerobic physical activity so you're physically in good shape, and that you're eating a balanced diet. You're not subsisting on Oreos and bologna and stuff like that. That's definitely going to improve the likelihood that you'll do better for any insult, be it a viral infection, bacterial infection, surgery, things like that. It's no coincidence that you see professional athletes bouncing back from injuries way faster than the average Joe.
Right.
Obviously, part of that is they have teams of physicians who are giving them steroids and all sorts of other things to speed their recovery that we wouldn't necessarily have access to. But the other part of it is, if you're an elite athlete and you're in great shape and you're following a good diet and you're not eating crap and you got your, your body is a machine running as well as it can, it's going to tolerate those insults way better than someone who's doing the opposite. Somebody who's not sleeping enough and they're drinking nothing but Mountain Dew and, they've got pre-diabetes and they're obese and they're not working out at all. So they're not in good cardiovascular shape. Their body's already not running that well to begin with. So then when it gets sick, it doesn't have as much in its armamentarium to kind of to work on fixing the insult. So it ends up being a bigger deal.
Right. So I'm as I'm sitting here listening to you, I know who you are, and I know how intelligent and smart you are, and you always give us the greatest advice. But I can only imagine my next guest, who is a professional boxing trainer for 150 years, must be sitting there saying, "Oh my God, but that's some good information for my fighters." I'm going to find that out in just a minute. Dr. John Lucas, thank you so much again for, sharing your wisdom with us and always moving us forward. And I'm going to be seeing you real soon. Okay, sir?
Looking forward to it, Johnny.
All right. Thanks so much, Dr. Lucas. Thank you, sir. All right.
Welcome.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we were speaking there to, in my opinion, the man with the plan, one of the greatest doctors and one of the smartest people I know. I'll be very honest with you. Truly one of the smartest people that I know, and I've been dealing with him for several years. Next, I'm going to bring up a gentleman I have not really met. I don't think I've met him yet. Maybe I did at an event or something. I'm not really 100% sure and all. And but I spoke with him briefly on the phone there. And he seems like a really nice guy and all. But ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let's go ahead and bring up Mr. Barry Stewart. There you go, sir. How you doing?
Hey, Johnny. Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it. And very, very outstanding information from the doc on some of that hydration and things. And great tips that I know will be extremely valuable moving forward with my team. So I appreciate the opportunity to hear the great things he had to say and for your presentation with him this morning.
Thanks so much. Dr. Lucas is a gem. I mean, we've been working together for about 8 years or so, and he's just right on. He's just very sharp, very intelligent. He's really done a lot for the fight community. I want to ask you a little bit about you, because I don't really know you. So let's just start right there. Tell me a little bit about who Mr. Barry Stewart is.
Born and raised in New York, went into the United States Marine Corps with this notion that I would box for the Marine Corps team. I was an amateur fighter. I fought New York City Golden Gloves a bunch of times and went into the Marine Corps on the advice of my coach, who was a former Marine Corps boxing champ. Right. So went in there and found out, there was a lot of 4, 5, 6-time Golden Glove champs from New Orleans and Chicago. And so competition was tough. Needless to say, I got some boxing in there, but I never actually fought for the team. But I got to spar with a lot of those guys, work out with them, and be partners as far as getting them prepared for competition. So it was a lot of fun coming up through that. And then I fast forward, I got a career in law enforcement, started having my family, and I worked in corrections. I worked for the state and the federal government in Florida in corrections, different various prisons where males, females, criminally insane. I ran the whole gamut, juveniles. Oh. So it gave me a good perspective on things that were going on. 2010, I started with the sheriff's office in Putnam County, and I approached the sheriff at that time and asked him if he would be willing to start a police athletic league, which we know are very prevalent up, Northeast, and especially in New York. They're on every corner. Right. So they didn't have an existing PAL, but the sheriff said, well, we can do it, but we don't have a lot of funding. So I said, well, if you can continue to pay me, we can raise money. And it was an absolute blessing, Johnny. It became a ministry for me. Honestly, I fell in love with the community, the opportunity to embrace these kids that were coming from single parent households, and a lot of kids coming out of the courts. They would feed us children, boys, girls that would come out of the court systems, misdemeanors. And we built this family, if you will, a boxing team, but more of a family, and we got entrenched. And so from 2010 to 2019, we just blew this thing up. And so we traveled kids around the country. We have national champions. We had a core of 12 kids that were just, 70, 80 amateur fights. So we built the base of of what we have now, which we didn't know we would get to this point. But so we're very enthusiastic. We had a great fan base. The families and parents very supportive, and we raised money in a community that was very hard. You know, it was Putnam County in Florida. You know, it's there's a lot of issues over there, a lot of adversity and things going on. But man, we've overcome so much, John, by the grace of God. You know, God's been involved in this program. He's the root of where we started. He's the root of what we are now. We're not perfect people. Everybody makes mistakes. Our kids have tripped up, but for the most part, they've remained faithful. They know when push comes to shove, they got to get on those knees. And so we thank God right now. And we ended up with, I got 6 professionals now that I raised since they were 11 years old. So it's really, when I say it's a homegrown, I don't just mean Florida. I mean, like, this is homegrown, our team. So it's very special, very, very special. These kids are like my sons, you know. So
yeah. I kind of get that impression. I'm a little curious though about, you know, boxing is such a tough sport, right? You know, there's a lot of things that you can introduce people to other than boxing. Was it just the climate or the cultural situation that you were in that boxing kind of was it for you? But what attracted you to not just you trying it, but maybe a door for some of these young fighters?
Well, you know, we have, I probably have 90% minority population. So a lot of times with these kids, there's this edgy side to them, and the boxing is an appeal. You know, it's a tough sport. It's an opportunity for them to show their bravado, if you will. And so they embrace that. They a lot of them liked they liked that boxing. It was an outlet. You had kids that had, you know, ADHD and, you know, different types of diagnosis. And so the heavy bag, the running, the extreme individuality of it. Although you were a team, it's an individual sport. So they got an opportunity to know if they worked hard, that they would rise up, you know. So they embraced that, and they trained and they pushed each other. And they saw that light at the end of the tunnel. They saw that, John, in 10 years, we maybe had 3 kids that have backslid and ended up in the system, whether it's in prison now but very, very, very few. And so that's the grace of God, and that's the success. Not so much the boxing. I'm proud of the boxing, but I'm more proud of the men that they've become. They all have jobs. Who's married now? Who has children? It's just phenomenal to watch the growth and the things that you can have. It's a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of work, a lot of prayer.
Right. Okay, good. So you kind of use it as a tool, right?
Yes, sir.
To, you know, basically make them better people, better men, right? And strive in life, and obviously bring them, you know, more into a faith life. Is that a life of faith? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. Which is certainly a good thing. No doubt about that. I'm kind of curious, and I want to talk a little bit about Christy and her show coming up in just a little bit. But while we're on these subjects, I want to go ahead and kind of dig just a little bit. You know, Johnny Davis Live, real talk with real solutions. You know, it's something about your face. When I see your face, I see something. I see wisdom. I see knowledge, but I also see some pain.
Yeah.
It seems that you really care a lot about whatever you get into. You like really put your all into it.
That's a good mind reader, John.
Am I kind of reading you correctly?
Yeah, you're on the space, man. You're right on it. You're on the point.
So tell me about, what is it that, after what you've been through in your life thus far, that would make you want to so passionately give back to the community?
Well, I've had a lot of ups and downs. Come from a family with a lot of adversity, you know, dad situations. You know, my dad was an alcoholic, and so, you know, but my mom came from Sicily. We had an amazing upbringing by her, but it was very hard not having my dad actually in the picture with us. He lived with us, but, you know, it was that kind of situation. And so I was able to really relate to a lot of our kids, because out of our core family, there wasn't one kid on my core fighting boxing group that had their natural dad in the home. And I just found that to be like amazing, you know. So, you know, so you wear the many hats, and, you know, you're the dad, you're the grandfather, you're the mentor, you whatever they need you to be, right? At that point. So I saw that as an opportunity to give back, because I knew how it felt to be younger and not be afforded the opportunities to be involved in sports because we had no money, to not be able to have nice clothes, to not be able to.
Tell me really quick, how does it feel?
It feels bad, it feels, you almost don't know you're in it when you're in it, Johnny. Like, I didn't know I was poor, until we would have cans of peanut butter from the government. And my friends would come over and they'd say, well, why is your mom using that can of peanut butter? And I was like, I don't know. And they're like, what is that? I'm like, oh, that's
can of
the
peanut
big
butter.
government can, the
Right.
big can of peanut butter and the big blocks of cheese. But I didn't realize, like, that I didn't find it as a detriment as far as learning, as far as the ability of going into the Marine Corps, becoming a law enforcement officer. I never let that ever be an obstacle for me. I never used that as an excuse to not be able to come up. So I don't allow these guys to tell me, hey, look, I've been sleeping on the floor for 5 years. I don't have a room. I don't have this. We struggle. We have 10 kids in a household. I tell them, I understand and I sympathize with you, but that's not an excuse to lay low. Stick your head out of that. Get out of that. It's generational things happen, but you got the right and the ability, and you hold that in your hand to change. If you want to make the change, make it. So I feel like God put me here to kind of lead them. 2019, I had to resign from the sheriff's office because I was in a really bad accident. I lost my leg. So that was probably the most traumatic thing I've ever had to deal with, because I was 61 and I was very aggressive. I was always in with the kids and in the gym and moving and training, actual trainer. And I lost my leg. So,
what did you learn most? So you went through that ordeal, and I'm sure there's a lot of psychological things that you feel in losing a limb. I can only I can only imagine. What do you think it was? I mean, I know your faith has really helped you out a lot.
Yeah.
But what else was it that you think you might have called on to help you pull through that you can maybe tell someone else today who's going through a tough time, right, that they can pull through and that there is light at the end of the tunnel?
The main thing is to keep an understanding of it's okay. You're gonna go through hills and valleys, and when you're in that low point, it's okay to be in there, but you can't live in there. You have to come out of that. You can address your feelings, and you can have your little cry session. It's okay. But I have an amazing, amazing wife and family that are just unbelievable, that have been here with me. I mean, my wife, my goodness, man, I couldn't have made it through this without her, John. She's amazing. And my sisters and all my family and friends. But I had that core, but also I always knew, okay, cry, go ahead, get it out. You lost your leg. I get it. But you have your life. You lost your leg, but I wasn't really supposed to make it out of that. And so I take it as a blessing that my life is spared. Let's keep it moving. So I tell people, although you may feel like the situation you're in is an absolute bottom, it's not, because as long as you keep your feet moving forward and you tell yourself tomorrow will be a better day than the next day, you can do it. Surround yourself with positive people, surround yourself with ideas, keep networking with others that are in a similar situation. I'm an amputee coalition. I talk to those folks, and I try to show people, like, all right, so I lost a leg, but you know what? I'm back up on it. I got my prosthetic. Let's keep it moving. So I think there's always that opportunity for you to get back on your feet, and it's all a mindset and it's a condition of the heart.
I have this thing that I call the fighter within.
What was that again?
I have this thing that I call, this segment that I do on my show, which is what we're into right now, believe it or not, is called the fighter within.
Yes.
And I want you to maybe dive a little bit into that. Perhaps how you kind of related this to the time you were trying to be a fighter, the fighters that you train now, and being a fighter through this very tough time that you went through when you lost your leg.
It's all molded into one. It's where you were, what happened to you, and what was the outcome, and now what are you moving forward with? And with my guys, we've incrementally we've climbed. I have Benny Aguilar, that's the he's the main event on Christy's card. He's 7-0. This kid, came from all kinds of adversity as a youngster. rose up out of it and told him, listen, man, look where we're at. Look at this. How amazing is this? Christy Martin Promotions signed you from Little Crescent City, Florida. No one even heard of that place. And now we have 6 pros, and they're all like brothers. It's amazing. They're Mexican descent. They're tough guys, tough bravado. But you know what, John? When I got in that accident, every one of them, my wife told me after, were all in that hospital crying their eyes out, which showed me is a testament of what we built through time. And so now they're so proud of where they're at, and they're so thankful and grateful, and they work hard. Every night we're working hard to be the best that we can be. Whether it's a champ, who knows? I don't know. Everybody started somewhere, right?
Right.
We all started somewhere. So we're just pushing it. We're pushing it. We're staying connected. They all signed with me, Pitbull's management, Pitbull's Unleashed Management Company. And I signed all these boys because I want to make sure that I take care of them, Johnny. I want to make sure that this is a hard sport to be in. There's a lot of things happening, a lot of wheels turning. I want to make sure that they're protected to the best of my ability. So
well, are you looking? Yeah, I'm sorry. But are you looking at the other side? A lot of times that, we get so involved and engulfed in fighting that we forget about the other side. You're a smart man, I can tell. Like, how are you helping them see that, okay, what you might not get Floyd Mayweather's money. You might not ever reach Canelo's status, right, and stuff like that. But because boxing is so tough, and there's only a few that's going to make it.
That's right.
That's the reality. Are you feeding it to them for real talk, if you will, as opposed to, listen, you know what, there's going to be a part where you're going to go up, and then you're going to go down. You got to know when you're going down and know when to say when. Are you having those real kind of conversations with these young fighters?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. 100%. We never, ever talk dollars, ever. It's just not something we talk about. They get a little bit money. They're 4 round to 6 round, and their money is managed by me. They've learned to save money from what they get. They've had their money pays for their uniforms. They don't have handouts. They're working. And so they've understood, we go 6 in a hotel room. We get 1 room, there's 6 of us in there sleeping. We've learned, we know how valuable it is to be where they're at. And right now, all they want to do is to keep climbing. They know the money may never come. And like you said, Johnny, this isn't for everybody. You're going to have guys drop off. I got 6. That doesn't mean I'm going to have 6 next year.
Right.
All we can do is move them the proper way, guide them, have good promotional opportunities. We have Undisputed Promotions and Christy Martin Promotions that are my main promotional guys right now. And so John, they come to my house. They see how I live. They're around my family. They're around my wife. My wife loves them like her own kids. They eat here. And so we try to set an example in and out of the ring. I only allow them to be around. I don't have trainers that, turn on the loud cuss music. I don't want to do that. I want to be something different. I don't believe that all that craziness and showboat makes you any better.
Right.
Show up in the ring. Don't worry about all of that other stuff. Show up in the ring.
Right.
And that's what we aim to do.
I think that is a vital lesson. Something I always try to tell people that, fighting is a lot more, outside of the ring as it is inside of the ring. And those things that you do on the outside of the ring will certainly roll over to the inside of the ring, and vice versa. There's absolutely no doubt about that. So really quickly, also, let's talk about, how did you meet Christy Martin?
Christy Martin was having some shows down here in Florida, and we got an opportunity to just talk. And I said, "Can I put a guy on your show?" And she said, "Sure." That would be, meet him. And so we had Benigo Aguilar, who his name, he likes to go by Tony, but we call him, his name's Benny. And so we met with Christy. He fought once for her. She really liked him. We were able to get him on her card again in South Carolina and once in Florida. And she just, they just clicked. Her style of fighting was like Benny. He's a pit bull. He's a hardcore Mexican coming forward, bang, bang, bang. Just like you got to hit him with a sledgehammer to stop him. And that was Christy. So Christy offered us an opportunity to sign with Christy Martin Promotions, and we were thrilled. We were thrilled with the opportunity to bring Benny on, and now he's with her. He's 7-0. And I have a lot of faith in Christy Martin Promotions that she will move him the way that he needs to be moved. There's no rush. He's 22 years old.
Right.
So he's not one of these these amateur guys that had you know, a lot of pedigree. He
Right.
had 80 fights, and he's been to nationals many a times, but he wasn't on the Olympic team or anything like
Right.
that. But the kid can fight. He can
Right,
fight.
and that's the bottom line. Now, I don't know who's who. You sent me a couple of pictures and everything and all, and so maybe you can tell me a little bit about who this is.
Sure.
Hold on, let me get him back up there on the screen there. I got to figure out which one is he. Guy, where is he? He had on some red trunks there. He kind of came up and went back down, but that's okay.
What is he?
Let's talk about this guy. Let's talk about this guy right here, the big heavyweight.
Okay, that's Julio Mendoza. He happens to be Benny's uncle. You know, long story short, he came into the program just to watch his nephew, who was 12, and he wanted to make sure that I wasn't doing anything crazy or
right.
the kid. So he came in as basically eyes and ears for Benny's mom, which is his sister.
Right.
Ended up just liking it, man. Hung around, got the sport, and just started staying with us. And boxed. Had about 15 amateur fights, not too many. And then I turned him pro. He had one fight, and he lost. And he learned a valuable lesson from it. But he was out of the ring 4 years. Right. 2021, fast forward, we're at Benny's fight. He's helping me coach. Christy Martin's there. She likes him as a person. I said he wants to get back in. Can you give him a shot? Mm-hmm. She said, I'll tell you what, I'll let him fight in Myrtle Beach. He came in, first round knockout. He trained so hard. I mean, he trained like crazy to get ready for the fight. So now he's back, and Christy's actually given him an opportunity. They've inked him. And so he's with Christy Martin Promotions. He'll be having his second fight February 5th. He's an exciting fighter. Oh, I mean,
good.
The guy is a beast. And you know what the greatest thing about him, Johnny, is at 16 years old, he got really jammed up. He's running with the wrong people.
Right.
Did a lot, what I consider a lot of time for a kid that age. Went away and got out. And you know, since he's been with this program 2010, this kid has not returned to jail, has not done anything like that. You know, and that I'm so proud of that, and so proud of him for getting his life together, keeping it together. And you know, everybody got their things, Sean. Everybody likes to party a little bit, getting to this. He's a rough guy, but you know, all in all, man, to total line the way he did, considering the background, where he came from, the friends that he had. The guy's gotten himself together. He's got a wonderful girlfriend. He's got a nice family, and he has two beautiful teenage boys. So, yeah, you know, these success stories aren't always in the ring. They're you know, they're in and out. Right. So, isn't that the beauty of it, though? You know?
Yeah, no, it really is. You know, there's a lot of life lessons that you learned in the ring. What about this young man here?
Now, the third guy would be Amante Haynes, and he's the African American kid. Man, this kid, you know, another guy struggles. You know, just wanders into the gym one day. Hey, I want to get, you know, I want to fight, and I want to box. Tall, skinny, lank, drink of water. I said, all right, yeah, come on in. You know, and he was probably 14. And so it's been 8 years with him. And man, I've watched this kid, you know, he kind of raised himself a lot of years, you know, very, very tough situation. Lived with grandfather, you know, and man, got himself in a little bit jam, you know, was with a young lady. And, you know, so he's been through some ups and downs. But man, talking about a guy weathering the storm. Since he's 16 years old, this kid has never not had a job. Always worked while he was in school. Works as a roofer now. Comes right from roofing, drives an hour and a half to the gym to train every night. You know, these guys, you know, and John, it's gas money, it's time, it's expense. Sure. You've been on a roof all day. And then you come to the gym. And let me tell you, I'm going to kill you when you get to that gym. Yeah. So they know what they're in for. But God has just managed to keep them strong, mind, body, and soul, and focused.
Right.
And so whether they're focused on being a boxing champ or whether they're focused on being a life champ, they're exceeding all expectations for me. And I think they've been very successful at both up to this point.
Right. Well, there was another guy I had a picture. I can't find it right now, but
little short guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Big Ego Aguilar. He's you know, like I said with Benny, you know, Benny is just an amazing kid. You know, he's tried he graduated high school, went to college, and started thinking he was going to be like a X-ray tech. It was a little hard for him. You know, it was hard. It was very challenging. And so he went back to what he does. He does construction. He works heavy equipment. and another guy. I mean, at 14, he was laying concrete.
Right,
You know,
right.
I mean, lifting
Right.
bricks, cinder blocks. You know, very strong, tough kid, a good attitude, very respectful kid. Like anybody else, he's 22, so you know you're going to get a rough side of him every now and
Yeah.
then. I got to
Yeah.
reel him back in, John. You know, because they can get a little wild on me, so I got to pull them back. You know,
Right, right,
But,
right. And I think, but you know, you're being a great mentor. I think that is so important for them. They might not realize it as much right now
yes,
as they will a little bit later in their lives, how important you are to them or were to them at the time when they're, you know, a little bit more age, if you will, and
yes,
wisdom. And you're passing on that wisdom to them. And I think that is just something that's really great. That's why my show, I talk about real talk and real solutions, because it's more than just coming on and talking about punching people in the face, right?
yes.
It is about who
Man,
you are as a
absolutely.
person.
Absolutely, John. You know, boxing is a great sport. I love it. I've met some good people, some bad people. The Florida is amazing. It's so cool because a lot of the kids that we came up with and their dads that coach them are now pros. So when you go to the
Mm,
pro events, we're in an A-side locker room. We got all these kids, and it's a family. It's a great thing. There's some amazing guys here, great fighters from the state of Florida, and it's just nice, man, to move on with these
right.
guys, to see everybody get to that next level. And I pray for everybody, you know, to be successful, and whether it's in or out of the ring, you know, I try to be there for folks. You know, I got very involved in the USA boxing
Mhm,
for president for a little while, but
mhm.
needs to be more improved. You know, got 9 grandkids, and we have 7 children
Wow.
between us, my wife and myself.
Wow.
So we're you know, we're quite active on the family tip, you know. So
Right, right, right.
yeah.
But
So
you know
keeping a
what? But you
balance.
know, but there's nothing like, you know, a family. You know, I mean, obviously sometimes I did this thing, and we have to close out here, but about the movie Bruised, you know, with the Holly Berry, and I did this whole thing. You got to go check it out. It's on YouTube and stuff, about fighting and how we are all bruised and how we all have gone through difficult times, and we all have had, you know, ambitions to try to do things, and maybe had failures and shortcomings and things like that. So we're all bruised, right? But we still move forward. One of my favorite speeches or sayings is forward march. You hear me say that all the time, and that's everything that I do. So we have to find a way to move forward regardless whether we lose a leg, we lose an arm, right?
That's
Whether we
right.
get beat up, whether we fall short. Every single day we wake up with a purpose, we wake up with a goal. It's forward march and all. And so
Amen,
you're one of
baby.
these great inspirations that I love to talk to. And I knew that you would be a good conversation piece just by that little conversation I had with you on the phone that morning.
Thank you,
I
John.
knew it'd be good. I want you to
Thank you.
keep doing what you're doing. I look forward to meeting you on February 5th. We'll be there
Yes,
with our
sir.
live streaming and everything. And I wish all of your fighters the best. Tell them to stay strong, keep training. We're going to be chatting with them. Me and Derek Reams, my co-host, will be chatting with them there and everything. So we definitely look forward to seeing you on February 5th in St. Augustine, Florida.
Thank you, Johnny. God bless, man. Thanks for
God bless
having me. I
you.
appreciate it. Have
Thanks
a
so much.
great day. Take
You
care,
too,
my
sir.
friend.
Thanks so much. There he
Yes, sir.
goes, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Barry Stewart there. He's training 3 fighters, getting ready for February the 5th there in St. Augustine, Florida, with Miss Christy Martin. I just want to remind everybody with our live streaming company that we have, we will be live streaming the February 5th event. All of that information is going to be is right now on the website at akpromotions.org. You will be able to purchase that, I think, probably by next week. We will also be streaming, by the way, our ICAV Georgia Classic that's coming up next weekend, January 15th, from Columbus, Georgia. So we got a lot of good things going on with our streaming company. We have several events that we're looking at streaming live, you know, to make sure that we can bring great entertainment right on your TV screen, right in your living room. That is the goal, and I think it's going to be really great. Mr. Derek Reams is the star in what he does and how we you know, produce the entire events for you. We do lead-in commentary and all of that. So it'll be a great reason to purchase the live event for February 5th, Christy Martin's professional boxing show. And again, it is a very good production. It is not like a piece of crap. We work on the Wi-Fi, try to get everything great. So I hope you guys will go to akpromotions.org, and you're going to see a link there, at least in the next few days or so, right, where you can definitely check out our live streaming. Now, as we're getting ready to close out here, I'm going to have a final conversation here with the gentleman who I also just met. He is an undefeated boxer, right? And you know, he's got some spunk in him too, by the way. I spoke with him for just a little while, and he was all on fire, man. This guy was ready to fight over the phone in a good way. But he seems like someone who is really serious about fighting. He's currently undefeated and everything. And again, he seems to have something going for him there. I don't know. We're going to find out in a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, let's please bring up the man himself, Mr. Christy. He can't hear me. Well, you got on mute? What's going on? Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you. I don't know how to turn on the speaker.
Yeah, you probably have your medium volume down.
The speaker.
Yeah, I can hear you, but you can't hear me. So, you know, but listen, let me just say this about you. I'm going to say this about him. You can see him with all of the belts right there, which shows this guy's been fighting a lot. He is currently 5-0. He's an undefeated fighter and everything, but he's having some problems right now with his volume and all. So we probably won't be able to do the interview, because one thing I've learned about doing this show over the last 3 years is that you got to have volume. It doesn't take a rocket science and everything to figure that out. But, you know, he's definitely pretty good. I see him trying to come on one more time. Let's see, can we get him on? And if we can, we'll go for it. If not, we'll move forward. Let's see, can we find him there? See if that worked out for him. Well, I don't see him. I saw him come on there for a minute there. Let's see. You know how it is, guys. And when you're doing live, stuff like this happens sometimes. But there he is. Let's see if we got any volume. See what's happening.
Yes, sir. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fine. You can hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you perfectly fine now.
Okay, good. How you been?
I'm doing great, man. Just, you know, getting ready for my next fight. Just grateful to be on your show. Also, I want to thank you, Barry, for having me on your show.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Okay, Mr. 5-0, Mr. Undefeated.
I'm actually 4-0 with 2 knockouts. Looking forward to being 5-0 soon.
Oh, that's what it is. I think I read that on your site, and you are basically predicting, right, your next fight, right? So you are 4-0 with 2 knockouts.
Yes, sir.
Right now. Okay, all right. Well, why aren't you 4-0 with 4 knockouts, Mr. Christian?
Because, you know, I don't always look to go in there and get the knockout. You know, if it comes, it comes.
Right. Listen, I'm hearing this accent, man. Where's the accent? Is it New York?
Yeah, I'm from New York.
You're from New York, for sure. Tell me a little bit about why did you get into the sport of boxing? How did you get into the sport of boxing? You got a bully story or something?
All right, so first and foremost, I want to introduce myself. My name is Christian El Veneno Otero. I'm 27 years old, out of the Upper West Side of New York, Manhattan, New York. Mm-hmm. Hey, calm down. I'm sorry, I have a dog.
Oh no, we love dogs. We love dogs.
She's pretty aware, just like your boy. Nah, but all right, yeah. So my name is Christian Otero, 27 years old. Mm-hmm. I'm from Harlem, New York, preferably the Upper West Side. I have 101 amateur fights.
Wow.
I'm 4-0 with 2 knockouts right now as a pro, and I'm looking to go 5-0 on February 5th in my first main event on the Christy Martin Promotions undercard.
Right. Do me a favor. Bring your phone up a little bit. Just lift that phone up a little bit. Right. Yeah, that's better. So that logo won't be right in your face.
I'll hold my phone. I had it on like a stand, but I'm gonna hold my phone.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. If you can put it on the stand or something, that's fine too. Look, you know, again, I've had a short conversation with you. You seem like a pretty confident fella. You know, where does that confidence come from? Tell me a little bit about how you got in boxing.
I feel like my confidence comes from my humility, you know, and I just, you know, I'm not looking to double back and try to fix anything. I'm just trying to, you know, better my future and hopefully the next generation coming up.
When you say trying to fix things, is there something happen that you feel like you could go back and fix, but you're just moving on? Because you can't. You got to move on.
Everybody has their trials and tribulations and, you know, harsh humility that they've been through in life. You know, but it's all about how you move forward. You know, it's all about how you're willing to endure this humility, but continue to push forward and do what you have to do. You know, because at the end of the day, it's not about what's behind you; it's about what's, you know, in front of you.
Right,
You know,
right. So you've obviously learned a lot here. How old are you now, Christian?
I'm 27.
You're 27. So it sounds
Yes,
like to me you've been through a couple of things and you've learned some valuable life lessons.
of course. You know, and I just you know, I'm just trying to put those experiences into something more positive and productive in life. You know, and you know, you asked me how I got into boxing, and I started boxing at 18 years, 17 turning 18 years old. You know, and I would say I was on a rough path to you know, something negative in life. You know, I
Got
wasn't
it.
really doing anything with myself. You know, I was on probation and I wanted to do something with myself. You know, and you know, like I've always worked hard. You know, I've been working since I was 14 years old. You know, different jobs like housing authority. You know, I've worked I've dog walked. I've done all type of delivery
Sure.
jobs. You know, construction. You know, mechanic. And, you know, I just wanted to live my dream, man. You know, I always wanted to be a boxer since I was 7 years old. You know,
Wow.
when I saw Mike Tyson versus Lennox Lewis, right, in 2002, and Lennox Lewis knocked him out in like the eighth round or something like that. You know, ever since that, I was always a fan. You know, and you know, my mother didn't really want to put me into boxing. You know, because she was worried about the always getting punched in the face and stuff like
Sure.
that. Plus, we was already aggressive kids, so she thought it was
Right,
going to make
right.
us worse.
But it
You know,
actually did the opposite, didn't it? It kind of calmed you down, didn't it?
well, you know, I would say I experienced a lot as a teenager. I didn't start boxing to the age of 17, 18. You know, and I had to take, you know, authority in my own hands I became an adult. You know, I had to make those choices for myself. You know, because I was, like I said, I was on a harsh path to a bad. I was on a bad route. So you know,
Right,
just
right.
I'm glad to be able to, you know, reroute that. You know, make a 180 and do what I have to do. You know, in
Yeah,
life.
that's kind of it's kind of interesting though because it's just interesting how you didn't move, you're still living in the same place, right?
Of
Well,
course,
so
I've been
but I
living
know,
in
but
the
isn't that
same.
interesting how you can find something like that? Even if you're in a rough spot, you can find that bright light that can lead you towards some type of a better life or prosperity. Isn't that kind of amazing? How would you explain that to someone who's in the dark right now?
You know what they say. You know, the diamond is always in the dirt. You know, and can't find it unless you dig for it. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah. No, I'm interested also in. I see that you have something on the side of your face. And
Yes,
what
sir.
people don't know about me is that I used to be known kind of as a historian. And that unk that you have on the side of your face, what does that mean to you? And how important was it to actually have it on your face? Now, I know it intricately what it means, right? But I
Right.
wanted you to tell
Eternal
me,
life.
what does it mean to you that inspired you so much that you would actually put it on your face?
So I got it because you know I have utmost respect for women. You know, and obviously you know the ankh signifies eternal life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my meaning. You know, but I was like at my lowest in 2019. I was trying to qualify for the Olympic trials, and you know, I just thought to get it tatted on my face. I got that, and I also got the Eye of Horus.
Oh
If
yeah,
you
I
guys,
saw it. I
you know,
understand it. But so
so
okay, so all right, I'm
you
gonna
know,
go
I got
a
it.
little bit.
I got it. I got it because it's a sign of protection, and you know, I'm a person of superstition. You know, so I just like, you know, got it on my face because I thought it was gonna, you know, give me some type of like faith. It was gonna give me some type of.
Okay, okay, that's fine. That might be good. But now I want to go a little bit deeper, right? Johnny
Yes,
Davis
sir.
Live, real talk, real solutions. So when you put that on you like that, to me, it's almost like a priest, with the cloth or wearing the cross, that's where the
Yes,
cross
sir.
actually comes from, and all of that. How does it make you live your best? Is that a reminder?
Yes, it's a reminder to you know live in good faith and to you know live a healthy life because you know I actually prepare my own meals my own meals for my bouts. You know, I make sure I eat right. You know, when I'm preparation, because you know what they say, proper preparation prevents poor performance, and it starts with what you put in your body.
Right, no doubt. I saw that and I said, you know what? He don't think I'm going to even mention that, but I'm gonna get it. Right? That's what. Tell me a little bit about
you got it.
Yeah, a little bit about your opponent and everything, and the fight that you have coming up February 5th in St. Augustine. What are your thoughts on that fight?
Yeah, so I've been tuned into your live stream since 1 p.m. and you know I seen you had Coach Barry Stewart on your live. Shout out to him. You know, I hope you and Benigno Aguilar train to your best ability for this main event coming up.
So you're fighting his guy? You're fighting his guy?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Okay. Yeah, man.
Right. So you ready for that? You know, this guy, he seems like Mr. Barry had a lot of good things to say about him and all, and you feel like you're the right opponent for him.
Yeah, he looks like he is very content, you know, and confident in his guy, and I look forward to, you know, being in a very contentious battle, you know, and you know, best man win. You know, I know he's inked with Christy Martin. You know, I have pretty much a good rapport. I fought on Christy Martin's undercard before. I was actually this bout is actually a year in the making. We were supposed to fight January 30th of 2021. And he pulled out for his unfortunate reasons. Right. And then we were supposed to fight again in May of 2021, and I pulled out for my unfortunate circumstances. Right. So, you know, now, yeah, things happen, you know. But at the end of the day, you know, we stood strong. You know, he continued to fight and beat who he needed to beat. Me, I had my last contentious battle recently against another prospect, and you know I beat him. So I just look to continue to be victorious. You know, I don't look to go into any battle to be a victim. Always the victor.
Right.
You know, always the victor.
For sure. Okay, as we close out here, Christian, tell me, ultimately, I think I could guess, but what are your goals, man? What is the ultimate goal that you're trying to reach here in this boxing game?
So my goal solely is to become a world champion and to become an influence to the next generation coming up in the sport of boxing and all over the world and in every other sport. I just want people to be motivated by my grit and my humility. You know, I know we didn't really get to speak on it, but you know, I'm not too shabby on, you know, speaking on my behalf right now, because, you know, it's not about, you know, people don't really want to hear about what you've been through in your past. You know, they want to just see you.
Actually, I
do. You know, I know you do. But after my bout February 5th, or even, you know, right before, we could have a conversation. You know, I could get on your live again. You know, and again, I appreciate you having me on your live. You know,
hey, you need to be careful. You need to be careful inviting me to interview you about life. You need to be very, very careful about that, right?
Well, I'm learning how to fall back. You know.
Okay. All right. I'm just saying. I'll go pretty deep. But listen, I'm wishing you all the luck. And by the way, I just want to remind you, since you are from New York, you know, we are going to have the live streaming there. You know, at the event, you know, a lot of people who might want to see you fight, who maybe can't make it to that particular event, we will have the live streaming.
Oh, so there's actually gonna be a live stream to the fight.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
it's my company. It is my company, and we're going to be there with my Derek Reams, who's a color commentary. We're going to be doing the live stream. So be sure you tell people to go to akpromotions.org and order that fight.
I definitely will, man.
Christian Otero, man, it's been a pleasure talking to you. So I wish y'all the luck. All right, man. Rock and roll,
man.
Oh, yes, sir. We'll talk to you soon. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that sounds like a fine young man there who's got some big aspiration and big dreams and all. And we're wishing him all the best on February 5th in St. Augustine, Florida, on this Christy Martin's boxing card there. All right, guys, as we begin to wind down, I went a little bit over an hour here today. I just wanted to remind everybody that, yes, next weekend, it is coming up. You've heard me talk about it. It's the second annual ICAF Georgia Muay Thai and Kickboxing Classic. There's going to be a great event. We have over like 45 fights. It's going to happen in like an 8-hour period there at the Columbus Convention Center. Guys, I'm telling you, you need to be there. If you can't be there, like, you know, if you can't be on the scene, be on the screen. I had to take that one from Christy Martin. That's such a great saying. But she's absolutely right. We will be live streaming that event on next weekend. So you can get your tickets now at akpromotions.org. You can also purchase yourself a little bit of money as well. So be sure to check it out, guys. The live streaming there for the Georgia Classic. That is next Saturday at from the Columbus, Georgia, and it's going to be at the Georgia Convention Center, the Columbus, Georgia Convention Center, January 15th. Tickets on sale now at akpromotions.org. It's going to be live knockout action. We do have a semi-contact event going on that morning as well. It's the PKB, we call it. So really, it's an all-day thing, guys, going on January 15th in Columbus, Georgia. I'm inviting everybody to please come out, or at least, you know, buy the streaming, because it's going to be a great show, and I think you're going to really, really enjoy it. As I mentioned, the PKB is going to be there on the morning. You can still register for that as well at akpromotions.org. All right, guys, I want to thank all of my guests for being on the show today. Dr. John Lucas, Mr. Barry Stewart, and Mr. Christian Ortiz, or almost Otero, right, for being on today. Oh, one more thing. I want to remind you that also the registration has begun for the IKF Spring Classic that's going to be in March. You can also see that information at akpromotions.org. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. I want you to always respect each other. Forward march. This is Johnny Davis Live, and I'm checking out. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.